Hello everyone, and welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after our comics have arrived and we've bagged and boarded all of them, we divide them up, we read them, and we do what we call a spoiler light video on them. So we're going to talk about the comics, we're going to tell you major first appearances, collectability reasons you might want it, but then we're going to go into what is going on in these comics, particularly with the number ones. Like, what is it really about? We're going to go further than you're going to read in the solicitations and help you with your decisions on what you want to purchase when you go to your comic store. So this is a very big week.
Probably one of our biggest.
Yes, a lot of comics have come out this week. We try to review all the major ones, and I think we're about to do 35 comic reviews in a row between the two of us. We're also going to show off the variants and the incentives. So just these six, these are the first ones we're going to go over, but plenty off to the side. So let's launch into it.
Yes, so if we go really fast through some of them, it's not because we didn't like them, it's because we've got to eventually
Many
go
others
home tonight.
to get to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so starting off this week is one of the big books. It's Marvel's next big event. It's Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day, or A.X.E, or whatever you want to call it, #1. So this is what we've been leading towards, it feels like, in X-Men and all of their craziness taking over Mars and their immortality that they have now achieved, and now the world knows all about it, and they are not super happy about it, especially not the Eternals, who see the mutants now as deviations from the correct course that they were supposed to be on, and it is their job to stop a deviance before it gets out of hand. So this is, as it says, the Eternals versus the X-Men. And what's the Avengers doing there? You will find out in this kind of what role they play and which side they fall on. This isn't really like a three-sided war. It's Avengers and X-Men and Eternals, but the Avengers fit in somewhere. So I thought that was really interesting. This is definitely the first issue, and it's got the first issue feels, so we know a lot of the stuff going into this. This is mostly kind of recapping us up on everything that's been going on with each of the different groups, what they're currently doing with, the X-Men being on Mars, and who our major players are going to be. The Eternals, it does a good job catching up what's been going on with them. And for the Avengers are kind of just trying to figure out what's all this craziness going on. We really spent a lot of time with Captain America and Iron Man. I will say a big part of this is Iron Man will get a job in this, a project that may be the biggest project he's ever taken on. The other big thing in this is I would say the X-Men receive a pretty heavy blow from the Eternals that is definitely a very powerful opening move that I told Jason, like, I kind of want to just skip right to issue 2, because that's, I can tell when a lot of the pieces are really going to start coming into play. But if you're someone who's been following the X-Men, I definitely think this is a book you need to read, because that's going to reflect this pretty majorly with some of the things that happen to do with Mars and with Krakoa. And don't forget the five mutants that are essentially the reason why they can come back to life. They are now a major target. So I think that's kind of the spoiler-free look at what's going on in this first issue. I'm excited for issue 2 and the issues to come, and definitely the fallout from all of this. I think it's going to be pretty devastating. So this is our #1.
And this is the #1 to the main event, because we already had the free comic book day sort of tie in, and then we had that one shot that sort of led into this as well.
Funny enough, I was just showing off the Gleason variant that whole time. His covers are so good, it looks like an A cover, but the main A cover is this Mark Brooks.
Right.
Of course.
That is really nice, Mark Brooks.
They both have a bunch of characters on them. We have a Peach Momoko variant, looking a lot cuter. And we have this Wernick Women of Axe variant.
Okay, so my first one I'm going over is also a Marvel book. It is the third issue of Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood. So why would I choose this for my first book? Because it has an interesting first appearance in it. It has the first appearance of a new female character whose name is Mirwit. Mirwit. I think that's her last name. But in one of these stories, Khonshu tells Mark Spector that she is another person who is worthy to become a Moon Knight. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. He basically tells Mark Spector she's another person who could be Moon Knight, and that's why we're going to do this thing for her that I will not relate because that's too many spoilers. So will it ever go somewhere? Will they ever pick this up? I have no idea, but I'd be remiss to not mention that not every person on the planet is somebody that Khonshu decides can be a Moon Knight. So that kind of stuck out to me. So otherwise, this, like the other Black, White, and Bloods, is done in black and white and red. It is an anthology. There are 3 different stories. The first story is called Wrong Turn, and in it, Mark Spector, acting as a cab driver, picks up some people who just did an armed robbery. Well, guess what? They're in for the getaway drive of their lives. In the second story, it is called No Empty Sky. This is back when Moon Knight is sort of still in training by Khonshu. He takes on a cult, and it's pretty cool because Khonshu the whole time has talked to him and like, you got to beat him up quicker. You got to get through this faster. How do I know you can take on even more powerful foes one day? And he has a very difficult choice to make in that story. The third story is called Astro Nuts. That's right, Nuts. And in it, Moon Knight is hired for a PR thing to take a trip to the moon by a billionaire who wants to sort of mine on the moon. And of course, everything is not as it seems. So that's just sort of your short blast of what these stories are about. And like I said, first appearance of new character Mirwit. Will she be back? I don't know. But still noteworthy, and I don't think any other site's talking about it yet. So as far as a variant, we just have this really awesome Klein variant.
Okay, another big book this week that I feel like more people should be talking about. This is Skybound X, issue number 25. So if you're looking at your collection saying the last issue I got was issue 5, well, that's because they did a jump in time. There's a really good letter from the editor at the beginning that explains why this is. This is kind of homaging a classic thing back in 1995 that Image did called Images of Tomorrow, where a lot of their books jumped ahead from their current numbering to issue 25 to be like, oh, how are we going to get here? The funny thing he mentions is a lot of those books never made it to issue 25. So one way or another, sometimes they came around to those stories, sometimes they didn't. But this is Image's way of showing, here's some books that we're going to be doing in the future. So it's hard to tell when a lot of these will happen, but we know for sure some of them are coming up really soon. They've already been solicited and everything. But I think the key of this one is our first story, which is Battle Beast. This is the return to the Invincible universe in, 10 years, if not more, I think.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, since the final issue of Invincible. And we are catching up with a fan favorite character of Battle Beast. This is written by Robert Kirkman. Art is by Ryan Ottley, your Invincible team, following this character who's essentially kind of like a bounty hunter. But his one goal is to... he wants to die. He wants to find a villain or a combatant that is so powerful it can beat him, because no one can beat him, and that's all he wants from life as he is going on this mission, and he's relaying his origin story to the ship that he's in's computer that he has a great dialogue with. That's a really fun story. It says to be continued. We just don't know exactly when that's going to be. Also in this is Dark Ride by Joshua Williamson. That's a big one because I think that may be the first one we're getting. I've already seen the issue 1 cover of that. That's coming up very soon. which involves a theme park called Devil Land. It's like a hell themed theme park that's very popular. All the rides there are related to torment and all of this horribleness. But two kids and their dad are waiting in line to get in, and the dad gets angrier and angrier until he realizes someone just cut in line. And maybe there's something about this park that brings out the worst in people. So very excited to read like a full issue of this because I like the theme park aesthetic. We have a book called Chroma, which I didn't know anything about, but I'm very intrigued by it. This is by Lorenzo De Felici, who is your artist from Oblivion Song.
Correct. Yeah.
He is writing and drawing this book. And this centers around a town that's like the last bastion on Earth. I guess it's Earth, they didn't say. But everything is black and white, kind of the chroma to this. And they have to expand their kingdom by going out to the lands beyond their wall. But what's out there? Color. And as they say in this, color is death. So you cannot bring color back into their world. There's a reason for that. It has to do with kind of the creatures that lie beyond. But this creates a very visually interesting story that I'm looking forward to reading that too. It's a very cool setup. Then we have Scurry is our final one. I feel like this is going to be a big deal coming up because it's almost like Walking Dead meets Stray Dogs. So if you like your cute animals in a very dangerous world, that is this one about two mice who are tasked by their little mouse colony to go to houses that are near where they live, human houses, and try to scavenge for food. They have their assigned houses, but they run into some trouble when they get there. They may meet a friend. They may meet some very vicious dogs, but it does seem like this is like a post-apocalyptic world, and we are following the mice in it. So very cool. It said all of these are, to be books coming up, so I think that's really exciting. So definitely don't miss out on this, where you get tons of first appearances, tons of great stories, and a hint of things to come. So this is our A cover with Battle Beast. Very cool. We have our cover for Dark Ride, which is the same creative team that did Birthright. So this is their next project. We have our cover for Chroma. You see the black and white skeleton around all the flowers and everything. We have the Scurry variant, and that's what the art on the interior looks like for Scurry as well. It almost has a painted feel to it. That if you like Stray Dogs, I definitely think you would like this. And finally, we have our incentive. This is the 1 in 10 Otley variant that we are selling to our customers for $15.
And the solicitation for this said that all these stories are getting their own full comics.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen a lot of places reporting on that.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of surprised that no one's made a big deal of Skybound X25 when it's supposed to be, hey, all these are getting new comics, lots of firsts, all in one book.
Yeah.
It just seems like a no-brainer to at least check it out if you're into that indie books, that is. All right, so next one I'm going over is Black Adam #2. So right off the bat, I got to tell you, it has the first appearance of White Adam. And yes, they do address the black-white Adam, black-white skin color thing. All gets addressed in this by the appropriate characters.
Okay.
That moment, it's definitely not like we're just going to throw that out there and leave it dangling. Goodbye. So if you read issue #1, you know that Teth Adam is dying. That is the regular Black Adam. Mm-hmm. And we don't know why. He's been affected from some scourge that is killing him. He looked for a descendant, and he finds one in the character you see on the cover there, Malik, who is a med school student who is not doing too well. He's smart, but just, has some problems in med school. And Black Adam's trying to get him to accept that he's his descendant and accept that he should take on the power of Shazam, like, just out of nowhere. And of course, Malik doesn't want anything to do with this. Well, in this issue, you'll get to see how Black Adam's advisors, because he's so sick he really can't do much of anything, his advisors try to get, through any means, Malik to accept the ring and say the words. You'll have to see how all that goes. And then also, can Teth Adam even survive at all without the ring on? I mean, he's dying as Black Adam. What happens if they take that ring off and he turns back to his regular form? You'll see all that in this second issue. It was a really good second issue. So a lot more on the character. We get to see Malik before he's White Adam. You get to see Malik sort of like do his thing, and as him, you get to see how he's effective. You get to see some of his personality when he takes charge and tries to get some stuff done, and that's something you always want to see in a new character who might be a major character. So we have some variants here. Here is the Sandoval variant, and then we have the Peterson variant, the Sarmento variant. Next up is going to be an incentive. That is the 1 in 50 foil variant of the Sarmento. So this is a 1 in 50 we're selling to our customers for $85. Check it out. You can change color and everything. And then there's a 1 in 25 DeMeo variant that we're selling for $25.
It's very interesting they're introducing this character now. When you think, with a movie coming up, you would want it to just be, like, focused maybe on his origin or something like that. But
his origin's been told in other things.
Yeah.
And some of this is going to relate to that origin. One other thing this issue shows is it does show how he got infected. And it has to do with a very big heavy hitter from the DC universe. Has to do with how Black Adam... Because, I mean, who could infect somebody with the power of Shazam in a way where they're going to die?
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Okay, next up is not a number one. It's actually the last issue of this story arc, but I had to talk about it because it was, once again, one of the best reads of the week. This is World's Finest, number 5. And this is the end of our first story arc with Superman and Batman going up against the ancient demon that they've been fighting this whole time. Supergirl and Robin went back in time to try to learn how to stop it. And along the way, on the way back, Robin got lost in the time tunnel, whatever they were in. So this wraps up that story, but I won't give it away because I feel like it's too cool. I was very surprised by the end of this, how this thing that I've been reading for 5 issues actually... maybe I've been reading about it longer, and how it ties in with some more of the DC universe that you're probably reading. I think it's super cool. It's kind of one of those aha moments where it all comes together in the end. It just goes to show how great of a writer Mark Waid is and how he can craft the story to kind of bring you around and you have a big realization at the ending. Also, just the way it's written, kind of the moves characters do, the relationships they have, especially Superman and Batman, how Superman knows that he can rely on Batman, even non-verbally. He knows if he does something that Batman will essentially pick up the pieces because they work so well together. Just overall, a fantastic issue. I'm very excited because this does lead into Batman versus Robin that's going to be coming out later this year that has kind of a little after the credits teaser type thing leading into that. So definitely check out this issue. Hopefully the collected edition comes out if you've missed some of the early issues of this, but seek them out because this book is definitely worth reading. We also have some variants. We have the Matina variant. And we have this super cool, this is the Pete Woods variant. This is a 1 in 25 with our, I believe this is the DC 1 million versions of Superman and Batman.
I
The Superman that has like just the ovals on his chest. And please inquire for the price because we do not have it on here right now.
All right, so I read Grimm issue number 3, and I'm happy to report it's another really good issue with great art. So on the cover here, you see our main protagonist, Jessica Harrow, who is a Grim Reaper, but she has discovered she has a past that she doesn't quite remember. She doesn't remember how she died. Now she's the only Reaper who can travel between the world of the living and the world of the dead, which is not supposed to be done. But there's a new creature that attacks this time. This creature is called the End. And you can see the End sort of looming behind her. So Jessica and her 2 friends, Marcel and Eddie, they were imprisoned last issue by their boss, Adira, who is watching over the world of the afterlife while death is away. There's a lot more on that, though, because you pretty much learn, and I mean, they say it in the first issue or 2, death is missing. Mm-hmm. Death is gone. It's one of those, hey, death is gone. Adira's just doing whatever she wants to do. And so in this issue, Adira is going to make a deal with this creature, the End, that could have some major implications on all the Reapers in a very bad way. So meanwhile, Jess and her compatriots find out more about death being gone. And by the end of this issue, she may have a new, very, very powerful weapon. So another really cool issue. Great art by Flaviano. I've praised the art in this since issue 1, and it just has stayed just as good. I'd say, if anything, I just want more. I want more. I wish these issues were even longer. I can't wait to see where it goes. So we got some variants, of course. We've got the foil variant of the Flaviano cover. That's just an open order variant. We've got this great In-Hyuk Lee variant with Jessica showing off her attitude, her Grim Reaper attitude.
She doesn't sit in a chair normal.
Here is the Jenny Frison variant. So this is Eddie, who I think you could tell they've taken some from David Bowie and some from Hair Rockers and sort of put it together in a character. Then there's a 1 per store virgin variant of that we're selling to our customers for $50. And there is a 1 in 10 Ward variant that we're selling for $15. And lastly, I wanted to mention that number 1 has gone back to 4th print. That is also coming out this Wednesday. So if you're collecting all those number 1s, 4th print is going to be out.
Cool. So, another big one this week. I feel like I've got a lot of like multiples and books with multiple stories. So, this is Star Wars issue 25. Now, this is interesting. 25 is kind of a landmark issue, but Star Wars has hit 25 before. Why are they doing this on this issue? Well, this is written by Charles Soule, and this is Charles Soule's 100th Star Wars script. Now, he's actually written, like, more has been released, but this is the 100th script he's written. He explains it in the beginning of it. But he's written a lot of really cool Star Wars series, mini-series, a bunch of different stuff. And this is him returning to a lot of them. So, he wrote Darth Vader for a long time.
His Vader run is my favorite.
Yep. He wrote Obi-Wan and Anakin. He wrote the Kylo Ren miniseries, and he wrote the Poe Dameron comic. Well, this is returning to all of those, and for most of them, using the original artist. So this is, he says, some of them were parts of stories he couldn't really fit in to the series when he was working on them. Some of them were like new things he came up with. So real quick, I'll go over what some of the stories in this are. We have the Obi-Wan and Anakin story. This is really interesting because this is addressing, Anakin is questioning Obi-Wan, why do we use lightsabers? Because Anakin, being, a hot-headed teenager, is like, I got this really cool idea for like a kyber crystal blaster and all this stuff. And this is Obi-Wan teaching Anakin why a lightsaber. Yes, we could have these crazy other things, blasters and spears and everything, but why they use that. then our next story is a little bit attached to that, because this is Vader training with Palpatine. And then Palpatine in this is teaching Vader what is the Sith's greatest weapon, and kind of why do they use lightsabers also. So those kind of go hand in hand. We have a Kylo Ren story, which I think is really, really good. That miniseries was great. Picking up from The Last Jedi, when, the last thing we saw Kylo do was face off against Luke, where he couldn't touch him, and then Luke vanished. We know what happened because we cut back and we see that that's when Luke dies and he becomes one with the Force. Kylo doesn't know what happened to Luke. This is Kylo hunting down Luke, being like, I know he's hiding somewhere. So really, really interesting story there. I thought that one was great. And lastly, we have the Poe Dameron story that could canonically be the furthest we have in a story. This actually takes place after episode 9, with the crew of the Poe Dameron comic with Black Squadron, and them mourning the death of Snap Wexley, who was a big character in the movies, or for the pilots, but he was a bigger character in the comics. And this is them kind of eulogizing him and talking about him and what he meant. It gives a really good wrap up to that original series comic as well. So this is a really cool, it talks about, maybe what's to come, all of that. But I think this is definitely one that I think a lot of people should pick up as just great little short stories in Star Wars. We also have out this week Han Solo and Chewbacca #4. And this is a very Chewbacca-centric issue with Chewbacca versus Chrysanthemum. And you get to finally find out what is a traditional Wookiee duel. And it resembles a lot to a bar fight. But that is a really cool issue too. And it's cool seeing Black Chrysanthemum back in comics. And also, we have issue 25 of Darth Vader. So, Darth Vader, you get to see Darth Vader in pursuit of the Crimson Dawn affiliated, corrupted Imperial leader. Vader is going to stop at nothing to get them. And it kind of teases the next issue. Is Darth Vader going to be riding in a pod racer? Is he going back to his old racing roots? You'll have to read it to find out, but great issue. We've got, of course, a bunch of variants. So, starting off, we have the variant for Star Wars 25. This is the Chemicoli variant. That's the story in there with Vader and Palpatine training. We have the John Tyler Christopher action figure variant with a little Anakin. We have the Rosanus variant. We have the Sliny variant. It's reminiscence of the Kylo Ren series. We have the Choose Your Destiny Sprouse variant with Luke. We have the Phil Noto Poe Dameron cover. We have a 1 in 50 Alex Maleev variant for Star Wars that we are selling to our customers for $60. We have, I really like this one. This is the 1 in 25 McNiven variant that we're selling to our customers for $30, with characters from all over the Star Wars timeline all hanging out together.
If somebody had a lightsaber, I would not stand close to them.
No, especially don't ignite it indoors. That's dangerous. Then we have the variants for Han Solo and Chewbacca. We have the Javier Garin Pride Month variant. I think this is going to be a big one. This is the Sprouse Choose Your Destiny Ahsoka Tano variant. Anything with Ahsoka on it immediately heats up. So definitely don't miss out on this one. We have our Rod Rice Darth Vader variant. Then we have the Sprouse Choose Your Destiny Darth Crawl variant. That is my block of Star Wars.
I know, we told you it's a big week. It would have just been a big week with just the Star Wars alone. Okay, so I read Avengers number 58. So this has the first appearance of Ghost Ronin, Samurai of Vengeance. So for those of you who might not be keeping up with Avengers, Mephisto has a plan where he's going through time and he's trying to destroy past people with Avengers powers that we're going to pass on. So for instance, if he could kill somebody who had the Spirit of Vengeance power in the past, well, no Ghost Rider in the future. So in this, they end up, and so the Avengers have been chasing him through time, trying to stop this. They end up in the Japanese Edo period, and the current Spirit of Vengeance is Ghost Ronin, which, you know, I love samurai stuff, so I thought it was cool. So, of course, the Avengers help team up with Ghost Ronin, go up against Mephisto's people of that time. But also, they do learn a little bit more about his overall plan and where it might all end up, or what time period it may all end up in. They may have to go to prehistoric roots to try to fight Mephisto, to make sure that all the different powers of the Avengers can be passed forward to descendants. So that is what's generally going on in Avengers number 58. And we have this Gist Predator variant. Predator against Blade. He's going to add another type of creature he hunts to his list.
Okay, next up I have a new number one, probably the actual first number one from this this publisher, which is Artist Elite. So we talked about Artist Elite Primer Red and Artist Elite Primer Blue before. There were little like preview books with some art about this, but this is a new anthology book by some pretty big creators, each telling their own story with their own creations. This is
that the Pickle Girl on the
yes,
cover?
it is. So this has 3 stories in it. This has Lost Serpent Prince by Brett Booth, which is a very 90s feeling book, if I could, early image 90s feeling, with the designs, with the characters. You have this like immortal snake prince who's now looks very like kind of like Spider-Man, and then it cuts to a kind of warrior nun, medieval type character who is a demon hunter named Lancelot. This girl named Lancelot. It's very, if you like some of those old 90s, maybe some of the like the Darkness and Witchblade and everything, you'll definitely like that story. We have Final Boss by Tyler Kirkham, which actually is a property he's used before, so this is picking up on that. It actually starts with a really interesting story of lost soldiers in World War II who are kind of seeking shelter in a cave, only it turns out this cave is ancient and booby-trapped. Then we cut to our main character, who is very much like almost like a Street Fighter character. He can shoot power balls of fire, and he's been in this like underground martial arts tournament. So that one is also pretty cool. And then finally we have Sandwinches, the one you've all been waiting for, the team of like kind of super spy superheroes who are a team of women who are all sandwich themed. So you have the girl who's a pickle.
They're like sandwich component themed.
Yeah. I think there's one that's supposed to be like iceberg lettuce, but she's like kind of called like burr or something like that. And it doesn't end there, because I forgot exactly what it's called, the place that they're dropping out of a ship, and it's called like the Tabletop or something like that, and they're fighting against potato monsters. Like it keeps going from there. It tracks. Except for there is a big villain that it's teased at the end that has nothing to do with sandwiches, but you'll have to read to find out. I suggest picking this up. If this feels like and this is a compliment. I got to preface this with a compliment. It's like if you went through a dollar box and pulled out something that you just thought looked fun, and you go and you read it, and you're like, I don't 100% understand it, but I'm really enjoying it. That is what this is, and I'm looking forward to. The next issue is going to have 3 different stories, and then in issue 3, we're going to be returning to these stories. So I think it's going to kind of bounce back and forth. We've got some variants for this as well, based on each of the stories. So this is the Brett Booth cover for the Serpent Prince. We have the Final Boss variant by Tyler Kirkham. And the Sand Winches variant by Ali Garza. And this character has a great kind of soliloquy about pickles. She just talks about how great they are, and it's a real shame that you have to eat them because they're just so perfect. Try to follow that up.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone who likes both regular pickles and bread and butter. It seems like people are either like one or the other, and most people do not like bread and butter, I find.
No.
The sweet pickles, I don't know.
I think it's more of it just throws you off. You're expecting one thing, you get something else, you're just mad.
Yeah. Okay, so I read Nightwing issue number 94. This is the Jamal Campbell variant for it. The reason I have this is we are out of our A covers. So pretty much before we grab these to read and everything, we do our pull boxes, and we had some new people who signed up and they needed all of our covers for the wall. So it just left us with the variant, but that's okay. So this is Jamal Campbell variant, Nightwing number 94. And in this, Bloodhaven gets a new police commissioner, and it is a sort of lesser support character who has been in a lot of Superman and Batman stories. A character who used to live in Metropolis has moved to Bloodhaven and taken over the police commissioner spot. Now, why is that? What happened to the other commissioner? If you've been reading Nightwing, you know that there's a lot of corruption in the police, and last issue, a bunch of police had vandalized the city and tried to make it look like a bunch of protesters did it. But of course, Nightwing and Oracle were onto this person, and so now this issue, they're after the corrupt police commissioner, and you'll have to see how all that goes down. Meanwhile, Nightwing's half-sister, Melinda Zuko, which was revealed many issues ago, who is also the mayor of Bloodhaven, she has been playing double agent where she acts like she's working for Blockbuster, but really she's helping the good guys.
I just like the term "working for Blockbuster."
not the defunct video store. The gangster who runs Bloodhaven from the shadows. And but how many things can go wrong for Blockbuster before he starts to suspect that maybe there's a rat in his midst? A lot of things having to do with all that goes down in this issue of Nightwing. And so once again, that's the Jamal Campbell variant, the only one that there was this week.
That's how Nightwing continues to be super popular. We're still trying to keep up with people jumping on board with it.
I'm glad it's back to him just doing his own thing. You know, he got pulled into a lot of stuff, which it was good, but it was like, man, they already had enough cooking in that series.
Okay, let me make sure I grab the correct one next. Yes. So next up, I have Jurassic League. This is Jurassic League number 3. I love this book every time it comes out. It's just such a treat. And this one, we get a lot more of our characters we haven't seen as much of yet, which is Flash Raptor, Green Torch, and Aquanix are Flash, Green Lantern, and Aquaman characters. And they're really starting to build to something because all the villains they defeat suddenly start talking about this dark side character, and it's going to require the entire team to come together and figure out what's going on. So if you haven't been reading this, check out Jurassic League. It is a lot of fun. And we have this variant for it. This is the Duarte variant, where you see that baby Darkseid's having a time playing with his Dinosaur Justice League.
Okay, so I had to bring a prop I personally own for the next book. That's right, it is one of my original Madballs. This is Slobulus. So there were 6 Madballs that were released. This is one of the 6 still in its packaging. And when I saw Garbage Pail Kids versus Madballs was announced, I said, I got to bring this on the show. So, and yes, Slobulus is in this issue. It's
Oh,
kind of
man.
weird to see this ball that I've had, and my friend had one too that was open. We used to throw it around, and now he's in this comic talking and such. Anyhow, Garbage Pail Kids, or I'm sorry, Madballs versus Garbage Pail Kids #1 releases this Wednesday. You can see that Slobulus right down there in the bottom.
Oh, wow.
So,
Cover appearance.
these are two iconic 80s gross out toys. And I had tons of Garbage Pail Kids. My friend more had all the Madballs, but I do have this one. And so they're back in a crossover. So what is this about? It, of course, starts with a family that has moved into a new house. They got this house super cheap, the best deal ever. And they're a nice, upstanding family, mom, dad, 2 kids. They don't want any bad influences at all. Well, time for them to meet their neighbors on either side. Well, one side is the Madballs, and the other side is the Garbage Pail Kids. And these people can't be any more unhappy. They call the realtor, and the realtor just laughs at them through the phone and hangs up on them. So they get to meet these neighbors and see how gross and terrible they are. And it turns out that Madballs and Garbage Pail Kids don't like each other.
They seem like they would get along. I mean, they're both gross.
I know, it seems like they would, but that's the problem. They're trying, it's a lot of one-upmanship.
Oh.
It's a lot of, oh, I'm grosser than you, and oh, you need it this way, I need it that way. And except, and I think this is funny, there is a star-crossed lovers thing going on with one Madball and one Garbage Pail Kid, who you can tell, you'll have to read it yourself, you can tell, it's very subtle, but it's like, oh, those two like each other. But they're not allowed to because the houses hate each other. So that's what this comic is. That's about 3/4 of the issue. The last fourth of it is sort of one-page comics about them doing things together. It's like, oh, they're playing baseball against each other. How would that work? They're at a theme park together and they're fighting. How would that go? So it's not a fist fight. It's more like competition so far. But it seems like they're going to definitely torment this family. It definitely has it where the kids of the family are being highly influenced by these neighbors and the parents hate it. So it's a lot of punniness. It's the stuff. It's a lot of gross out humor punniness, but it's not too toilet humory.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed it. Was it the best comic I've ever read? No. But if you're, it scratches the itch if you got that itch. If you don't, you don't have to crack it open.
I mean, your description sounds so much like an 80s movie. Like, I could
hopefully
see
just not like the Garbage Pail Kids
I could
movie.
visualize
that movie was
it
pretty
with
bad.
those, like, weird puppet animatronic things, the goofy music. It all works.
Yeah, so here are the variants for this. This is the Crosby variant. The two teams going up against each other. Then we have, this is also by Crosby, I believe. This is a trading card variant.
I love that one. I like that one eyeball Cyclops monster.
Yep. Then there is a blank variant where you can have an artist draw whatever you want on there.
Or just sneeze on it.
So speaking of sneeze, there's also a green one of these. I forgot to grab that one. It looks like this, but it's sort of gross out green color. Really, it's kind of our green screen color. And then there is the 1 in 10 Simcoe wraparound variant that we're selling to our customers for $10.
I just love that exists.
I'm glad that it's a mini series.
Yeah.
It needs to exist, but if they were like, yeah, we're launching a whole universe, I'd be like, no, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Let's have just enough.
Know what you do well.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is She-Hulk. This is She-Hulk #5. So I continue to really like this book. It kind of defies what you think of a superhero comic, because it does not have a ton of action in it. It has some. It kind of has your meets Marvel quota for action. But this is a lot deeper than that, with relationships and kind of discovering about Jack of Hearts and what happened to him, why is he back alive. I will say in this one, we do have, I'm going to say 2 first appearances. One kind of main one and one supporting character. And I'll even say that the main one is a super powered character. Now, with that comes a lot of, it's almost like if you think about, like if there's mutants, you've got all these like Phoenix and you've got Storm, but what about the ones that have powers that, aren't flashy or whatever? Kind of that idea, even though this person's powers are over the top, it doesn't seem like this person necessarily is wanting to be a hero or be anything or even have this power, and the person with them that supports them. So take your idea of like a superhero, but put it through like, hey, let's put some drama into this. You'll know when you read it. I think it's very interesting. Will this character or characters appear later? Maybe. Will they not? Maybe. Who knows? But I thought it was a very interesting look at kind of the hero-villain dynamic, the superhero dynamic, through the eyes of She-Hulk. So, really fun issue of She-Hulk. Looking forward to where they're going with this. And we have a variant for it. This is the Jones variant.
So speaking of Marvel first appearances, I read Iron Man issue number 21. This has the first appearance of a new character called Switchback, who was in the Weapon X program, and he has adamantium skin. It looks regular though, like he doesn't look like Colossus. Like he has adamantium skin that just looks like flesh. And so first appearance of Switchback. So Tony Stark is on a commercial flight. He usually takes private jets, but right now he just finishes rehab. He wants to be around regular people. He doesn't want to be off on his own. And while he's taking his commercial flight, somebody tries to hijack it. So he fights the person, which turns out to be Switchback, who steals something and dives off the plane DB Cooper style. Iron Man follows him, but now he's in the middle of nowhere. And he loses GPS signal, he has no internet, he just has his suit. Well, he goes up against this sort of woodsman character who has lots of traps and tricks, and you'll have to see how effective this new character is against Tony Stark without him being able to call in a million other suits or anything like that. The other question is why did this new character steal what he did? It's some sort of weapons plans. This is definitely the opening part of a new Iron Man arc and another character who I think we're going to see again. So that's what's going on in Iron Man issue number 21. Always a good read. And we have this Coella Hellfire Gala variant for it. The only thing the issue was missing was no Patsy Walker. I've liked her in all the issues. I'm so glad they made her pretty much a co-star in the Iron Man series.
Okay, my next one is a new #1 from DC. This is DC versus Vampires All Out War. This is a 6-issue miniseries, kind of a companion book to the DC versus Vampires. I think they saw the success of it. Like, how do we build this out without just adding more issues to the main series? So this kind of explores some of your supporting characters that we haven't seen as much of or haven't seen any at all. We have characters like Blue Devil, we have Azrael, Damage, Mary Marvel, who we have seen, but we kind of picked up, I think, kind of post this series with her, and just a ton of more characters. Now, the one thing I do, and I will just show it so I can explain it better, this book, I never remember hearing them say, but this is very much in the style of the Black, White, and Blood books. This is all black and white with red tones. So this, just so you know what you're getting into, more on the line of like future state Gotham in its looks. But always happy to see them bringing in a lot of the classic characters that I really like Blue Devil, Damage, just some of the C and D tier characters. Very cool. So if you're reading it, hard to tell in the first issue how like must read this is for the series, but I think if you're reading the main DC versus Vampires, you'll want to pick this up too if you're enjoying that. So this is our A cover. We have our Kale New variant with some more zombies, or I guess vampires, but they look very zombie-ish. And we have this 1 in 25 Stoko variant. with Constantine that we are selling to our customers. I misspoke because I don't have that information here as well. So please inquire within.
All right, so Al Ewing is back to writing another Defenders miniseries. This is Defenders Beyond. It is going to be a 5-issue miniseries with a new team that you can see at least most of the team right here on the cover. So it begins with Blue Marvel. He is contacted by a spell Doctor Strange had in place before his death. Because if you remember the last Defender series, Doctor Strange was sort of the center of that one, but now he's dead. Well, there is another spell that is going haywire that has to be stopped. You know, one of those big spells. And the Doctor Strange kind of his spell is asking Blue Marvel to put the team together. Blue Marvel doesn't want to, but is it really up to him? Much like the last Defenders, Doctor Strange didn't exactly get to pick out the team.
Didn't they just get sucked to him?
It was the best team for that purpose. And it's sort of this way again. There's like a tarot card element to this spell where the tarot cards represent different people. And so one by one they get pulled in. And I kind of like it. It's exactly how the last one started, where each member gets their moment to be seen and why they're there. And it starts with America Chavez, who is looking for her sister she just learned about. Now that happened back in America Made in the USA, where we learned more about her history. And she discovered she had a sister she never knew about. So she gets pulled into this, and this may help her on her quest too. Then you get Loki and Taya, who Taya's first appearance was in the last Defenders #1. Taya is Galactus's mother. So I'm not even going to go into all that. The solicitation for this said Loki was actually going to lead this team. Hard to see that in the first issue. It seems like more of a Blue Marvel centric issue, but they all get their time. And then lastly, Tigra, surprisingly, is in this, which I love when she shows up because she's like, oh, am I doing a team up? A very good moment. But there is one other character who looks like they may be joining the team, and that's all I'll say, even though I think everyone will know it by the end of this review.
Jason was trying to keep it a secret, and then he got the variant. He's like, I can't really keep the secret.
Yeah. So anyhow, a cool first issue. Now, this is if you like the previous Defender series. I don't think you had to have read that, though. This is definitely them doing something different. But if you like that style of writing, it's Al Ewing doing that far out there, really weird, bizarro, away from the regular Marvel Universe stuff with just a cool team. He likes to see how these members click together. Mm-hmm. So as far as variants, we have the Romero variant. Why, who is that on Defenders Beyond the cover?
I said it looked like Donny Osmond.
Here's the Noto variant. I like this one.
That's really nice.
America Chavez on it. Yeah, she's ready for action. She's ready to punch somebody. And then lastly, this is the Ron Lim variant, in case that first variant we showed didn't have enough of a hint there.
The next one's just going to have his name on it.
That's all.
Okay, next up for me is return to a 90s classic. This is Prophet, but this edition of Prophet #1 is I don't even know what it's technically called because it just says Prophet on it.
It's Prophet Remastered.
Remastered.
Yes.
Okay, so Prophet Remastered. This is the classic issue 1 of Rob Liefeld's Prophet, but this time, like a lot of publishers have done, I wouldn't say each page because it looks like some do multiple pages, are done by a different artist. So it's very cool to see something that I don't want to say is dated, but it is very much of its time, like a character like Prophet, but done in some art styles that weren't necessarily big around that time, because you have people in here like Ed Piskor does a page. You have Jim Rugg. Speaking of the team of Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg, they each do their own pages. We have Clay Mann. We have Kenneth Rockefort. We have so many different people putting their spin on Prophet that it's really cool. So if you have a soft spot for the classic Image books and Prophet and the kind of the Rob Liefeld extreme universe he created, you'll want to check this out. I just like seeing this character being drawn by all those different people. Piskor's works really well Like I could almost see that being its own thing.
I'll have to flip to that later. I'm
Yeah,
kind of
very
interested.
cool. So we have a bunch of covers for this. This is the Liefeld A cover. We have the Jim Lee cover, which I believe I think someone said was a trading card that they've made this, because hard to get Jim Lee, head of DC, to do something for another publisher. We have the Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti variant. I think a lot of these were either trading cards or pin-ups, stuff like that. We have another Liefeld cover. We have the Platt cover. A lot going on there.
Yep, Stephen Platt. That's what he does.
Yep.
Nobody's ever said he doesn't have enough action on his covers.
And we have a David Finch cover.
Okay, so I read a new one from writer Scott Snyder. This is Darkspaces Wildfire. This is coming out through IDW. This is a mini series. So we know Scott Snyder has a lot of fans, but I don't know if a lot of people know about this one or know what it's about. So I'm very happy to tell you here. So this is about an all-female firefighter group, like firefighter company. And they're primarily made up of ex-cons. A few of them are ex-cons who needed jobs. And they've all had tough lives to where, you know, fighting fires, sure, let's put all the toughness we've been through into that. And so sort of an exploration on who they all are. That's the beginning of it. But the story, of course, has a very dark crime edge to it. So they're all out fighting this horrible wildfire that's been going on for days and days and days, to where they're out on their own, no one else around. And one of them realizes where they're at is close to her ex-boss's house, who was a criminal. And he has tons of valuables hidden in this house, sheltered from the government and taxation, like, you know, paintings worth hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, just all this stuff. It's his safe house. And of course, everyone's been evacuated. House is just there. Fire is heading towards it. So she suggests, why don't we beat the fire there, rob it? You know, we can take all this stuff. It's just going to get destroyed. You know, they'll have to break into the house and all. And that's sort of the promise of where the story's going. You don't get to see that where it's going yet. That's sort of, you know, it's all about here are these characters. Here's the setting. Here's who they are. And now here's the thing that they might do. But there is one other little promise the writing makes, and that's that they may not make it out of this alive. So that is the premise for Darkspaces Wildfire. Good writing, as you'd probably come to expect from Scott Snyder. And we have some variant covers here. Here is the Sorrentino variant. And then we have the Kangas variant and the Lotte variant.
It's interesting to see Scott Snyder kind of flexing some different muscles. You know, sounds very different than like Dark Knight's death metal.
Or Noctera.
Yeah. Something a little bit more grounded, even though it's a big story, not as fantastical. Okay, next up, one that I wish I got a chance to read, but I didn't. I just got to flip through it for a second, but wanted to let you know out this week is a new Fantastic Four, #2. And it has a cool variant. This is the Roche variant.
All right, so next one I'm going over is Artemis Wanted. So this is just a one-shot, just a one and done. This follows Trial of the Amazons, and it takes you to where Artemis is. So in Trial of the Amazons, somebody murdered Hippolyta, and it was Artemis. It was totally proven. She admitted it. They imprisoned her, but then because they were battling this really powerful thing, Cassie Sandsmark let her out to help. She helped, and then she left. So in this, she is being pursued by Donna Troy and Cassie Sandsmark, who Donna wants to basically kill her. Cassie wants to know, why did she do it? Why did she murder her? So by the end of this issue, you will know all that. You get to find out what was going on, why she would do this heinous act, and you get to see what is going to happen with Artemis from here on out. So if you're keeping up with the Amazonian stuff, this is one you're going to want. If you're not at all, I have no idea why you would pick this up. Like, this is definitely heavily entrenched with what happened in War of the Amazons. And we got one variant for it. This is the Shirahama variant.
Okay, next up we have issue number 2 of Dark Crisis Young Justice, where the Connor Kent, Tim Drake, and Bart Allen got sucked into kind of their own idealized version of the Young Justice world. So the big thing I would say for this, if you're a fan of Young Justice, the classic series, the one like drawn by Todd Nauck and a few others, this will be right down your alley, because this is interesting to see how in their idealized world, what does that really mean for them? And is Young Justice, the team, was that their ultimate goal at the time, or were their dreams bigger, like maybe taking over their I want to say significant other, but like whatever Flash is to Bart and whatever Batman is to Tim, kind of their mentors, taking over their mentors' place. Was that really their actual goal? And how does that play out? All the while, Cassie Sandsmark is trying to figure out how to get them back and where did they go. So if you are a fan of classic Young Justice, you'll find a lot in here to like. And we are already out of the variant cover. It's went to our customers, so none to show here. But very cool issue.
All right, so I read the first issue of Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. So this is the exact same creative team that was doing the previous Shang-Chi series. They decided to end that series and restart it because they wanted the 10 rings in it in the title. They wanted it as part of the story. You can read all about that if you look it up, but that is why they restarted it. And so this has a first appearance. It's a new villain. His name is Red Cannon. He is an evil bodyguard. He's the bodyguard of an evil villain who has been cybernetically enhanced. So first appearance, Red Cannon, new villain. So what this is about otherwise is Shang-Chi has inherited the 10 rings from his evil father. He does not want these rings, though. In this, he relates the fact that the rings seem like they're kind of evil. They seem like they want to hurt and kill people. And he's actually having to stop the rings from attacking people. So he locks them away. But unfortunately, these rings are very powerful, and all these evil organizations find out about it. So in this issue, while he's out trying to be on a date, he finds out that pretty much every evil organization has attacked his lair all at once to get the rings. So can he stop them from getting the rings? And can he stop the rings from attacking and killing people? You'll have to read this issue to find that out. So that's what's going on in Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings #1. We have the Art Germ variant. And we have the Bocello Hellfire Gala variant.
Okay, another new book from, I believe this is the Merc. Was it Merc Publishing? Yes. Same people who bring you Miss Meow have a new book called Deathrage. So what is this about? Well, we have our main character here, and if you can see on there, he's got a very interesting mask. This is about a guy who, when we're introduced to him, seems almost like a Deadpool-like character. Very violent, very kind of witty and jokey. But is it really the guy, or is it the mask? We then get to see kind of an origin story of this character that's pretty interesting. So if you like more in line with your kind of early Image characters, your Bloodstrike or Bloodsport, or those kind of characters, a little bit of Deadpool thrown in there, and a little helping of Assassin's Creed, you'll have to check this out. I thought it was actually pretty fun, and I'm interested to see what else is coming from this publisher. And there are variants, but we do not have any here at the moment.
All right, so I read Miles Morales Spider-Man issue #40. This is part 3 of Empire of the Spider, where Miles has gone into the multiverse to find his Uncle Aaron, but he ended up in a world where Selim, the evil clone of him, actually had killed him in this world rather than vice versa, and had taken over Brooklyn and was ruling it. Selim has a way of creating a barrier around the city to keep everybody out that it turns out was powered by his Uncle Aaron. And I don't mean in a good way. I mean, he's chained up. It's like drawing energy from him. So in this issue, Miles and his sister, who in this universe has grown up, his sister Billy, she's grown up. She's the General Spider Smasher, who is part of the good guys. They take their team to try to break Uncle Aaron out from this place where they're powering this barrier. Meanwhile, Selim is going to learn that this Miles is back. You know, he killed his world's Miles, but another Miles is there from another multiverse, and that has him pretty worried. So that's what's going on in Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 40, the third part of Empire of the Spider. And then as far as the variants, we have this is the I. Lewis Predator variant, and here is the Segovia variant.
And next up for me, I have Batman the Knight number 7. I definitely wanted to spotlight this one because this starts a new story arc with Zatanna. So as Bruce Wayne is going around getting trained by different people to eventually become Batman, he seeks out the help of Zatanna. Or it's Zatar, right? Isn't that her dad's name? The magician, Zatanna's father,
Zatara.
Yeah, goes to seek his help learning kind of the art of escape, like, you know, being dunked in a tank and being shackled with chains.
Houdini style.
Yeah,
escapes.
very Houdini style. But this is also turns into his first training against the supernatural, which is really cool. And you see kind of his first meetings with Zatanna and kind of the relationship they have. I was talking to somebody earlier about the relationship between Bruce Wayne and Zatanna is very interesting because it seems like they've always had a history, and she seems like somebody that Batman respects a lot, and you see a lot of that in here. So very cool issue of that, and this great Frederici variant with Zatanna.
All right, I read Florida Man number 1. Rip right from all those headlines about Florida Man did this, Florida Man did that. So I'd like to mention this is partially done by creator and editor Chris Braley, who lives in Cleveland, Tennessee, which is just north of Chattanooga. He comes in our store here and there. In fact, we actually helped him out. We gave him boxes. He needed boxes. He was shipping these out to some stores. So he came by and we gave him boxes and everything. So a local had a lot to do with this one. And it was originally a 3-book series, and then they did a Kickstarter where they did an original graphic novel based on the books, and it was also popular, and now they're releasing it issue by issue. So this is your first chance to buy the individual issue of Florida Man. And so, of course, this is about a guy in Florida who is always trying to do get-rich-quick schemes that bite him in the butt. He makes terrible decisions. You know, his life is very trashy, and the people around him are that way too. It's like a fever dream of all the Florida Man headlines that you've read. That's the general premise. So that is what is going on in Florida Man number 1, and we have 2 variants for it. Here is our B cover on that, and yes, there is a gator in it. Somebody gets threatened by a gator, and I mean somebody holds a gator up threatening someone. And here is the C cover variant.
I see a lot of gators on the golf course in Florida. Okay, so next up for me is Do a Powerbomb number 2, Daniel Warren Johnson's new book about, what did he say? It was Dragon Ball Z meets pro wrestling. And I think specifically in in this version, kind of more luchador wrestling. So our main character, Lona, who lost her mom in a kind of a ring accident, has now kind of defied her father's wishes and become a wrestler, gets an offer from a necromancer to fight in this supernatural arena. The more I say it, the more it does kind of sound like Mortal Kombat. But it's very much based around like kind of pro wrestling. This necromancer watched a lot of wrestling on TV when from our dimension, and it was inspired to create this thing. And the prize may be Lona's way of bringing her mother back. But the thing is, this is a pairs match or a tag team match, and she's going to need a partner to help her out with that. So she seeks help from one of the fighters that she doesn't necessarily like, a masked fighter. This was a very good issue with a pretty shocking final reveal that I did not see coming. If you enjoyed number 1, you'll definitely like number 2. I feel like this is going to be a really good series going forward for Do a Powerbomb number 2 and the Ortiz variant.
Okay, I read Flash number 784. This is a Dark Crisis tie-in, so if you're trying to pick up all the Dark Crisis stuff, you want to grab this one. This has the first appearance of another Flash. He's a multiverse Flash. But I have to say, multiverse Flashes have more chances than most characters in making it out of the multiverse, because Flash is so fast, he can just like travel through them if he tries hard enough. So the Flash I'm talking about, he is called Night Flash. And he is like a very scary, dark, gritty Flash. You know, like almost like a Flash mixed with Batman, which, you know, I know they did with Death Metal, but that was like a really evil one. This guy is like, he might be good, but if so, he's so anti-hero, you would never want to meet him. He's very scary. So first appearance in Night Flash. So what's going on in this is that Wally West and the other speedsters are trying to find Barry Allen. They need his help because the Justice League's all gone and stuff is going very bad on Earth. But he is lost somewhere in the multiverse. So they're having to discover all these different Barry Allens. They're trying to find their correct one, but they're finding different Barry Allens in different worlds. So one of them, of course, is this Night Flash character. But enough on that, because the teams have split up. There's multiple worlds. One of the worlds they go into this issue is a Mad Max world. It clearly pays homage to Mad Max. The Flash of that world, he doesn't run. He's got a vehicle.
Of course.
And the villains have vehicles. It's awesome. I like anything Mad Max related. So right away, I was just like, very cool. I love it. So you get to see the Mad Max Flash. You get to see the Night Flash. And then there is another world that they're in as well. So that's generally what's going on in Flash issue number 784. And we have this Bengal variant for that issue.
People haven't been reading Flash. They really should. That's just, every issue is a treat.
Yeah, they're trying to make a comic that is just fun, that is good, that is enjoyable to read, whether it's a big game-changing thing or not.
Even made a father-daughter dance, a really good issue.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Next up, I have Catwoman. This is Catwoman number 45. And in this one, Catwoman catches up with some of the Bat family. It's kind of funny because, in a way, she was going to be their stepmom. And I don't know. I just think the dynamic between Catwoman and characters like, you know, Tim Drake or Dick Grayson, or even characters like Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain, it's an interesting relationship. So that's explored in this issue of Catwoman. And we have this beautiful Jenny Frison cover.
All right. Also out this week, oops, I grabbed the wrong one, is Venom Lethal Protector issue number 4. So there is a price out on Venom / Eddie Brock's head, and Venom wants to learn who has done this. He got attacked by tons of villains last issue, At least 3 villains attacked him last issue. So in this one, it's pretty funny. He goes on live TV as Venom / Eddie Brock. And why is he going on live TV? Because he challenges everyone. He's basically like, here's where I'll be this time, this place. Instead of attacking me from the shadows, come on out and fight me. It is time. So this is all set back when Eddie Brock and Venom had first sort of fused. So this Venom is not very well known at this point. It is time for these villains to learn exactly how powerful and how deadly Venom is. So pretty cool issue of Venom Lethal Protector number 4. And then we have this John Boy Myers variant for that issue.
He draws a great Venom. Okay, next up for me, we have Gunslinger Spawn. Gunslinger Spawn issue number 10. It's crazy we're already at issue number 10. This is a really fun issue where we actually see a bunch of new spawns. They've really kind of done the Marvel multiverse idea of spawns, and we get a whole facility that's monitoring all the different spawns, I guess in the different realities, and we see a whole host of new ones. Also, this has, I believe, would be a... Now, I've read a lot of Spawn. I've read like 100 and something issues of Spawn. This character could have appeared before, but they play it up like it's a new character. So I'm going to say this is most likely a first appearance. You'll see him on the variant cover. So let me know. But also, what's also interesting in this is this leads right into Spawn the Scorched number 1. So find out how Gunslinger Spawn got to that point at the end of this one. And we have our variant. This is the Brett Booth variant. So if this character looks familiar, let us know in the comments, because I didn't recognize him and it's kind of played up as a new character, but they're referred to like they've been around for a little while.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, here's a new indie title that I think I hopefully I can get across what this is about, because I liked it. I really did. This is a good one for somebody who wants a different sort of story. It is called Rogues Gallery. So check out that cover. It's a little hard to read the title in real life because it's black sort of on gray. But past that, we have this image, this bloody trail, and you see it's 2 R's against each other, which stand for Red Rogue, who is our main character right there, whose back is turned to us. And then in the distance, that blood, it's a trail up to a house. So I like it when covers have a lot going on, where it's like, okay, this is all symbolic. Now, this Red Rogue character, why is her back turned to us? I'll tell you, she's a very important character, yet we don't get to really meet her yet in this book. I thought it was a very bold choice that this first issue is all about these other characters that are important, but we don't meet who I think might be the protagonist, but I'll have to see in issue number 2. All right, so trying to tell you what this is about quickly is this is sort of follows some very fervent fans of a comic book called Red Rogue that has been turned into a TV show. And most of these fans, it's a little fan group, they're sort of younger, maybe in their 20s. They're very angry with the show. They love the show, they love the comic, but they don't like what's happened in the show lately. And they blame the main actress, the actress who plays the character Red Rogue, who is on the cover right there. So this actress, her name is Maisie Wade. I mean, you get to really see from a fan's perspective. So much of this book is the different fans in this friend group arguing what an adapted work owes a comic and owes its stuff. But these people are getting militant about it because the actress, she bought like a really rare number 1, and they don't think she deserves to have it because her creative input, they think, has been steering the show the wrong way, away from what the comic did. So what they plan is they plan to rob her house of that comic because she doesn't deserve it. And, of course, they're going to take the money for it. So the money allures some of them. Some of them just want to do it for the reason. But they're going to do it in full cosplay. They're going to dress up like her villains. So that's where the Rogues Gallery comes from. So
Mm.
they're going to go in her house as her villains and try to steal this comic. Now, this doesn't happen. It ends right as they're about to do it. So you don't get to meet Maisie, who is this girl in this. So I think there's going to be a lot of problems. I think this is going to turn violent. I think it's going to end up being her fighting these crazed fans.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty interesting issue where you don't really get to meet the protagonist. She's just talked about the whole time. Good writing, good art, hard elevator pitch. So I know that took a lot to talk about, but it's still bold, and that's what we want in our independent comics. We want them to challenge us with stories we haven't read a million times.
Yeah.
So as far as variants, here is the Mason variant, and here is the Lotte variant for Rogues Gallery.
Okay, and my final one is just to show you that Aquaman and the Flash Voidsong #2 is out. We get to learn a little bit more about what is the Voidsong and what is its purpose. And also, can you get broken out of it? And who would these two target to try and free of the Voidsong? So this is only a 3-issue miniseries, so we're already halfway through it. It's been fun so far. We also have this variant. This is the... Oh, put it down. Giajoriv variant.
All right, and the last one I'm going to go over is Alien #1 Annual is out this week. I didn't have a chance to read this thoroughly, but what I can tell you is a few things, and that is the Alien series is actually ending, and they're starting it again with another #1, which I'm not surprised. I mean, this follows like a certain amount of characters through a different amount of story, and they only have so much, just like the movies. You know, their arc is almost over. I'm sure the new #1's going to follow new characters. The other thing I think I'll say is there's still no Predator showing up in this. Now that Marvel owns Predator, I'm like, how long till a Predator is at least hinted at in this? That doesn't happen in this either. I thought an Annual might be a fun place to sneak it in. That doesn't happen. As far as variants, here is the Johnson variant. And then there is this awesome 1 in 25 Delato variant we're selling for $40. Whew! That is our show for today. So we just went over 35 comics and their variants and incentives. So those of you who hung in there till the end, thank you. That's why these videos are long. We really read the stuff. We really want you to know the major things that happen and why you might want to buy them. But more than that, you know, like if you read about Rogues Gallery, it's just so hard to describe until you talk to somebody who's actually read it.
Mm-hmm.
It's things like that we're trying to do for you. So I hope that we were helpful. I hope when you go in your comic store, you are not bowled over by all the new stuff this week quite as easily. Thank you all for watching every week. If you watch on YouTube, we appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We're at 1,700 subscribers, heading towards that 1,800 number. Let's keep pushing up till we get to that 2K.
Yes.
So, but that is it. We'll be back on Friday with Megan to do Comics from the Future. Until then, have a great rest of your week. We got to get to the rest of our work now.
Yes, we have more stuff to do.
So long.